In the flat marshlands of Thamesmead, southeast London, stands a fortress of modern incarceration. This is His Majesty's Prison Belmarsh. It is not merely a prison, it is one of the United Kingdom's most secure facilities, a place designed and operated to hold individuals deemed to pose the most significant threat to national security and public safety. Officially designated as a Category A prison, it sits at the apex of the country's penal hierarchy. This classification is reserved for male prisoners whose escape would be highly dangerous to the public or the security of the state. From the moment of its conception, Belmarsh was engineered for one primary purpose: containment at the highest possible level. Belmarsh opened its gates on the 2nd of April 1991. It was the first new prison to be built for the male population in London for over a century, a direct response to a growing need for high-security accommodation. The preceding decades had seen a series of high-profile escapes and riots across the prison estate, prompting a strategic rethink of how to manage the most challenging offenders. Belmarsh was the physical manifestation of this new philosophy. Its remit was clear from the outset: to hold not only Category A prisoners, but also a significant number of individuals on remand, awaiting trial for the most serious offences. This dual function has defined its operational character and its public profile ever since. The architecture of Belmarsh is a masterclass in defensive design. The entire complex is surrounded by a formidable 15-foot concrete wall, topped with coiled razor wire and monitored by a network of advanced sensors and cameras. Internally, the prison is divided into 4 main residential units, or house blocks, each capable of holding nearly 200 men. These units are designed to operate semi-independently, minimizing movement across the facility. At its core lies the High Security Unit, or HSU. This is, in effect, a prison within the prison, a state-of-the-art segregation unit for those who present an extreme risk, even within the secure walls of Belmarsh. Access to every door, every corridor, and every yard is controlled electronically from a central command room. Arrival at Belmarsh is a meticulous and uncompromising process. Every new inmate, whether a convicted prisoner or on remand, undergoes an exhaustive intake procedure. This begins with a multi-layered security screening to prevent contraband from entering the prison. Following this, a detailed risk assessment is conducted. Prison staff analyze the nature of the alleged offense, intelligence from law enforcement agencies, and any history of violence or escape attempts. This assessment determines the individual's security categorization and dictates every aspect of their life inside: their accommodation, their daily movements, their access to privileges, and the level of monitoring they will be subjected to. For many, this is the first step into a world of total control. The daily regime at Belmarsh is structured and rigidly enforced. The day begins with unlock at approximately 7:30 a.m. Prisoners are allowed out of their cells for breakfast and to prepare for the day's activities. For those eligible, this may include work in prison workshops, such as printing or textiles, or participation in educational courses. Exercise is typically limited to 1 hour in a secure yard. All meals are taken within the residential units, and by early evening the lock-up process begins. For most, this means being confined to a small cell, often alone, for upwards of 12 to 14 hours until the next morning. This routine, punctuated by head counts and security checks, is the unvarying rhythm of life inside. Security at Belmarsh is pervasive and technologically advanced. A central control room, staffed 24 hours a day, serves as the prison's nerve center, monitoring thousands of CCTV cameras. Every person who enters, staff and visitors included, must pass through airport-style security checks. Mail is opened and scrutinized, and phone calls are recorded and monitored. Visits are strictly controlled, often taking place in partitioned rooms with non-contact barriers. A dedicated team works constantly to prevent the flow of contraband, using intelligence analysis, cell searches, and sophisticated detection equipment. The objective is absolute: to know everything that happens within the prison's walls and to neutralize any potential threat before it can materialize. The immense pressures of a high-security environment take a significant toll on mental health. Belmarsh has an integrated healthcare unit, providing primary care, dental services, and mental health support. The mental health team plays a critical role, dealing with issues ranging from pre-existing conditions to the psychological impact of long-term confinement and isolation. For prisoners identified as being at risk of suicide or self-harm, a formal process known as ACCT, or Assessment Care in Custody and Teamwork, is initiated. This involves creating a multidisciplinary care plan with increased monitoring and support. Balancing the need for extreme security with the duty of care to a vulnerable population is one of the most complex challenges the prison faces. A substantial portion of Belmarsh's population is not convicted, but on remand, awaiting trial. The prison is directly linked to Woolwich Crown Court next door, facilitating the movement of these high-risk individuals to and from their hearings. This has made Belmarsh the default holding facility for many of the UK's most complex and high-profile legal cases, particularly those involving terrorism and organised crime. The prison must manage the unique needs of this population, including facilitating secure access to legal teams and evidence, all while maintaining the presumption of innocence. This role places Belmarsh at the very intersection of the justice system and national security. Its high-security function and the nature of its population have made Belmarsh a focal point for controversy and criticism. Its strict regime and the prolonged isolation of some inmates have led to it being nicknamed Britain's Guantanamo by critics. Human rights organisations and prison reform advocates have consistently raised concerns about the psychological impact of the conditions, arguing they can amount to cruel and inhuman treatment. Independent bodies, such as Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Prisons and the Independent Monitoring Board, conduct regular inspections, often highlighting issues with restrictive regimes and a lack of purposeful activity. Prison officials, in response, maintain that these stringent measures are a necessary and proportionate response to the exceptional risks posed by the inmates they are charged with holding. Working at Belmarsh is a uniquely demanding profession. Prison officers undergo specialized training to operate in a high-security environment, focusing on dynamic security. The process of building professional relationships with prisoners to gather intelligence and de-escalate conflict. However, the risk of assault remains high, and staff safety is a constant concern. Like much of the prison service, Belmarsh has faced challenges with staff recruitment and retention, which can impact the delivery of the daily regime and rehabilitation programs. The resilience, professionalism, and vigilance of its staff are the essential human components of the prison's security infrastructure. Amidst the focus on security, Belmarsh also has a mandate for rehabilitation. The prison runs educational programs, vocational training workshops, and offending behavior courses designed to help prisoners address their actions and prepare for a potential life outside. However, the operational demands of a Category A prison often create significant constraints. Security protocols, lockdowns, and staff shortages can lead to the cancellation of classes and work sessions. For many inmates serving indeterminate or life sentences, the prospect of release is distant, shifting the focus from rehabilitation for resettlement to simply managing behavior within the prison walls. The fundamental tension between security and rehabilitation is a daily reality. Ultimately, HMP Belmarsh represents the sharp end of the British penal system. It is a place of last resort, built to contain those whose society has deemed too dangerous to be held elsewhere. It embodies the modern philosophy of high-security imprisonment, where technology, architecture, and procedure combine in the pursuit of total control. While it serves a necessary function in the justice system, it also exists as a stark symbol of the complex and often troubling balance between security, justice, and human rights. It is a closed world, defined by its walls, its rules, and its unceasing vigilance. Maximum control, maximum containment.